Cody Benjamin of CBS Sports put together a piece about the biggest red flags for 20 NFL contenders in this 2024 season. And so where might things go wrong for this year's playoff hopefuls is what we're trying to suss out. And I found this to be really interesting.
Did you say suss out?
Yes.
I like your vocabulary.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's just how I talk. But with that being the case, I saw the headline. I started reading, and I didn't get to the Cowboys alphabetical for a second. And my mind started rolling through various things that I was like, okay, maybe it's this. I wonder what he ultimately gets to. And so I found it very interesting, CA, that once I got to C for Cowboys, their answer was, and tell me if this is what you were anticipating as the potential red flag that would derail the Cowboys' playoff hopes for this season. And I get it. Before y'all even text in, I know, well, Jerry Jones or Stephen Jones or, they don't never win. All right, I get it. Trust me, I do. Well, it's ultimately written down, contractual pressure at quarterback and head coach. Cody Benjamin says it's one thing to expect big things from your leaders. It's another thing to let longtime franchise quarterback in Dak Prescott enter a contract year behind a shuffled offensive line and or retain a repeatedly embattled coach in Mike McCarthy. Results will surely follow, but what kind? A title run or total fallout? So basically the idea that these guys don't have security of their contracts and that pressure could break this thing down.
Interesting.
Is that number 1, 2, 3 of the responses that you thought could break down the playoffs for a playoff run or a potential playoff run for the Cowboys in this upcoming season?
It's an interesting thought. I actually heard somebody, or I read it. This was back in March when Jerry was talking about being all in, and they were talking about his interpretation of all in is not what the fans were thinking. Like fans are thinking you're gonna push all your chips in and buy every free agent out there, move in the draft, do whatever you got to do, and all in. The guy that was talking about this, whether I read it or heard it or saw it, he was saying Jerry's interpretation is everybody's on a short list. In other words, you have to play for your job to stay here. In other words, you have to be all in. In other words, I'm not babying you guys anymore. You guys have the talent, you got the coaching knowledge. If you're good and make a run, I will pay you, but I'm not giving you S until it's done. And that included you got a salary cap department. You got an analytics department. They are on short notice too. So I've heard this, and it's kind of like the pressure to you better succeed or you're not going to be around here no more. Whether you're fired or whether your contract's not renewed, all of you are under the gun. So that is a red flag that could derail them. In other words, Jerry's even said this before when they were at Valley Ranch. He said, I'm going to make things uncomfortable around here. So maybe that's his way of saying we're all in. And like, y'all too comfortable.
The thing about it is, I think if you wanted to point to the quarterback or the head coach as factors, I think that there's arguments to be made in those places. I don't know that I value both of those in the same way, but I think there's arguments to be made. I don't think that the contracts themselves are what would do it, right? Dak Prescott's lack of a contract, I think, is a place of comfort for him.
It is. He's the one who's in control. It's not Jerry. Man, they would love to get Dak already under contract and turn the page.
They'd love to get him under contract for a long time,
That's what I'm saying. That was the holdup on the first time. Yeah. Everybody was mad at Dak saying, well, this is too much money. What's the holdup? Dak wanted less years, so it matches up with the new streaming deals with TV. And Jerry and Steven wanted like a 5 or 6 year deal where he would always be underpaid. Dak and his agent, Todd France, were like, no, we want to make sure when it's his turn to get paid, he's going to get top dollar every time. And then because they couldn't get the deal done and Dak had the leverage, guess what? Dak has a no trade clause. Dak has a clause in his contract where you can't even franchise tag him. He's holding. The reason he doesn't have a contract right now is not because the Cowboys don't want to. Dak's like, I ain't ready yet. I'll take this thing down to the wire.
Right, unless they
bet on myself
again. They can blow him away with the deal. I don't even think that it behooves him. Like, the longer that we get across, I think the more it behooves him and the better his circumstance gets, because if he gets the free agency, now it's an open market.
Exactly.
Right? And now
it's not about him being the best quarterback on the planet. It's not Patrick Mahomes. It's about the best one available at free agency. Most quarterbacks that are extremely talented are locked in. Dak would be, okay, I'll pick my own team.
Yeah, and then the head coach idea, I think that there might be more credence there. However, right, I think the thing with the head coach is like playoff situation and how much is the contract, how much is not having a contract shift the playoff results, because they won 12 games in the last three seasons, right? Yeah. Obviously, you can talk about the season before. I think a lot of people give him a lot of grace coming in, COVID, all those things, right? They've won during the season. The thing is going and winning the postseason, and I don't know that the contract changes.
It doesn't.
Like his performance in the postseasons, and I mean his performance, because I know sometimes we could do, you're the coach and therefore you're responsible for the play, and sometimes the play isn't his fault. I very much, and we talked about this after that Packers game where they got shellacked.
Yeah.
And some of that shellacking was on the defense side with Dan Quinn, where it was very evident that they knew what you were doing and they diced you all the way up.
In fact, no, what he did was he changed up stuff because he knew that old boy was from the Kyle Shanahan tree and he was winless against that tree. And he had them running places they didn't have a run before.
However you want to cut it.
It was Dan Quinn.
Dudes was running booty butt naked open.
Yep.
But on the other side of the football, in the first year where Mike McCarthy took over play calling, they were also all over everything you were doing, and they knew what you're doing. That comes to the play caller. Hello, your name is Mike McCarthy, and I don't think that has anything to do with the contractual pressure. So, like the idea of that being the thing that breaks down,
derails them, pressure.
I don't think that's right. But if that's not the answer, then what is the answer, right? And we got some people texting in on the Frankel injury attorney text line, 877-881-1053. From the 903, they say that the defense can't get stops against good teams. That was an issue this past year.
You got a different defensive coordinator.
That's the thing that I don't know what to do with that. Now, maybe the idea that Mike Zimmer's defense does not latch on well, like maybe the team does not react well to the way that he wants to pick, because he's very particular about his defense.
Yes.
Maybe they don't react well to that. Maybe that's what derails the run. I could see that as a possibility.
Maybe that propels the run.
If they don't play well defensively in last year. But yes, well. Absolutely.
I'm giving you, because it's a new defensive coordinator.
Absolutely.
You don't know how he's going to play these players. I will say this. It's not going to be, like you said, the contracts or a lack of a contract. Yeah. That's not going to take away their focus or whatever that is. Because, again, Dak's in the driver's seat. But the suspect run game.
That's it. Shout out to 214.
I agree, because to me, you don't have a lead running back yet. I like Zeke in his situation. He should have been here with Tony Pollard last year, in my mind, just to get the dirty yards, just to get those touchdowns. The man scored 17 touchdowns in the last year he was with the Cowboys, and that was just dirty yard stuff. He will get you the third. He will get you the first down on a fourth down, and it was always proven. They load in the box for Zeke because they know he can get the dirty yards. Well, he's not going to be an every down back, and they have not addressed that.
Well, and I get it. You're right on the running back portion. I fall in line with the kind of school of thought that the running game is part running back, but it's a lot line, and that's also a thing that we have to talk about.
That's another part of the equation.
The likelihood is you have two rookies on your offensive line, or you have maybe like Brock Hoffman at center or something like that. But you have a couple of pieces on this offensive line that the offensive line wasn't incredible last year, don't get me wrong, particularly in the run game. And now you have some pieces that you have questions about that are also supposed to be impacting the run game. I understand this offense can be electric passing wise, but I already obviously have my questions about when it comes down to it, Mike McCarthy in the big moments when good defenses can really break you down. Especially if you don't have a level of balance and a capability of being effective with balance. And I think that the idea of having a suspect run game or a run game that you cannot utilize in the moments where you need to is going to make you one-dimensional in a place where when you get to the playoffs where you're only playing good teams, those good teams are very, very well equipped to take you down. I think that absolutely could be the red flag that derails a potential run, because that's part of what derailed them last year.
Exactly. Again, I used to drive me crazy. They could not stop the run for no reason. I was like, this is crazy. No matter who the coordinator is, they can't stop the run for nothing. That's what drives me crazy.
Do you think there's anything else that could be, or do you think we got right to the one? I mean, maybe not having enough of your passing targets. CeeDee Lamb obviously is going to be very good, and they're not going to wait till week 5 to feature him. I feel like your tight end is going to be more involved here. Jake Ferguson will be even more involved from the early points.
Yeah, I think the offense is going to be fine.
Okay.
The question I'm going to see is if Zimmer can match him up the way he plays defense, and I also like the fact that Zimmer's going to be the bad cop role according to Mike McCarthy's good cop, player friendly coach. Want to be your best friend, that kind of guy. There's got to be somebody in the organization, on the coaching staff, that the players have a little fear in. Because everybody else is always looking the other way, which is that affluenza up there.
I'm so proud of you guys texting in and getting involved. Yeah. And honestly, I'm also proud of you waiting all the way till the end of the segment to send in from the 972. Find a way to lose is their red flag. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Here's what's so crazy. In my mind, 2 years ago, last year, I blamed a lot of it. Don't get me wrong. It was a failure on all aspects of the organization to lose to Green Bay. But it started with Dan Quinn getting cute. And I love Dan Quinn. The year before, so to me, it started with the defense being cute and the way the game started. You didn't have to. You won 16 straight games at home. Offensively, the year before, it was Kellen Moore. And I said Kellen Moore is a genius young coordinator, but he's not seasoned enough. And I was emphasizing that because I'm like, he cost you that game by coming up with plays that you didn't have to run or uncomplicating when you should do a simple run or a simple play or whatever it was. So I thought it was Kellen Moore. In other words, the coordinators did you in. Offensive coordinator 2 years against the 49ers, and then last year against Green Bay, it was the defensive coordinator who led the charge of ineptitude. With that being said, it all falls on Mike McCarthy. He's going to have to bear the brunt if they don't go any further in the playoffs. And Dak Prescott, he's going to be able to leverage wherever his position is.
That's right.
If he looks good, even though they didn't go far, don't matter whether he wins or loses, unless he falls flat on his face or gets injured, somebody's going to give him some money.
So there you go. Let's get right here on 105.
Wait a minute, the 972 says the best. They're consistently inconsistent.
They sure are.
There's a regular season and there's the playoffs.
Yeah. And so they need to break that trend or else things are going to shift up. In a good way, I have no idea, but it will shift up.